Taking smart risks is a core part of being a good Valorant player. You're going to constantly be making decisions where you stand to gain something or lose something, and picking the right choice will decide rounds and games. Hello, everyone. My name is Achax, and today we are going to talk about risk. Make sure to subscribe if you want to be the first to see more content designed to help you rank up just like this. Keep in mind that we are only talking about risk as it relates to Valorant and that these tips did work for me, but you may need something different. That is up to your own judgment. All right, everyone, let's get right into it. First, I want to realign your perception of what a risk is. A lot of people only think about risk as big things, like forcing a second time, running through a smoke, or updrafting over a wall. Really, though, you are taking risks all the time. You took a risk when you clicked that play button to queue up for a competitive match. You may gain or lose elo. You take a risk every time you peek. You might gain a pick or you might get picked off yourself. And you took a risk when you bought the sheriff instead of the ghost, since the sheriff has a much lower margin of error. You are constantly taking risks. Most of the time, you won't get to choose whether or not to take a risk, just which risk you take. In an ideal world, you would only take risks that pay off a very high percentage of the time with massive reward. But these types of risks are few and far between and usually only show up when the opponents give them to you. So where should we center our risk tolerance? Well, you only need to win by 2 rounds, so you can actually come out on the wrong side of a lot of risks and still win. For reference, 13 over 24 rounded up and changed to a percentage is 55%. Now, thinking that my risks will work out perfectly to 55% is too risky for me, so I recommend you take a higher number, but that's up to you. As far as reward goes, the standard should be an advantage you can leverage to win the round, like a player advantage or site control. As long as you win 55% of the rounds in any game, you will win. This works when you are even with the opponents, but you frequently won't be. Let's talk about some less even possibilities. The next part is very important, and a lot of people get it backwards, which loses them a lot of rounds. When you have the advantage, you want to take less risks and higher percentage success risks. This is because if the game plays out evenly, you don't need a huge reward to win the round. You just want to stay ahead until the end so that you can win. A lot of players seem to have a mentality that an advantage means they have some sort of cushion so they can take risks and end up making decisions that don't make sense and that don't accurately represent how good they are. For example, being up 5-3 in numbers on defense and then rushing into the opponents resulting in a 3v3 that is lost. Let's break this down. It's important you understand why this is a bad idea so that you can apply it more generally. A 5v3 is a huge advantage. If you trade evenly and there isn't any snowball effect, the defense should still win by 2 players. Yes, if rushing pays off, you can defeat the remaining 3 players and win the round. But if you don't rush, you should still win the round easily with lower risk, whether you defeat the players or not. The difference is, by forcing a fight that tends to be lost frequently by the defender, you give the attackers a chance to win that they didn't have before. It's an unnecessary risk, and it loses so many rounds. On the other hand, when you are at a disadvantage, you want to take more risk, specifically high reward risks, even at the cost of lower probability. This is because you actually need that higher reward to overcome your disadvantage and win. A lot of players become timid when they are at a disadvantage because they are scared of losing or being eliminated, but that should actually motivate you in the opposite direction. Let's take the other side of the same situation, that 3v5. If the opponents don't rush you, you should start looking for a fight, some kind of one-on-one, even if it isn't perfectly set up. Yes, you are more likely to come out on the losing side of that risk, but you're even more likely to lose that round if you just play normally because the defense would beat you by 2 players. Let's take this to an even more extreme degree. Sometimes you're going to be forced to take on even more risk when your metaphorical back is against the wall. My favorite example is the Noscope. Sometimes you're going to be caught in the open with the op. When you are, you usually have the choice between scoping in or no-scoping. A lot of players refuse to no-scope because it isn't accurate. It's more accurate than you might think, but there is no denying that there is a substantial amount of RNG involved. On the other hand, if you choose to scope in, that takes time. You're crossing your fingers that in the time you've given your opponent, they aren't going to spray you down. That's a pretty big risk, and I found the no scopes to work out for me more often in the long run. The point is, absolutely shutting out options, regardless of the circumstance, is going to put you at a disadvantage when taking them is the best choice. To recap, risk and reward tend to go hand in hand. If you are going for a win, how much risk you should take on is inversely proportional to how much of an advantage you have. When you're ahead, play it safe and cruise into an easy win. When you aren't, go for a high reward play to try and make something happen. Don't be afraid of taking larger risks when you don't have much to lose. For some of us, actively taking more risks can seem daunting. That's okay. Just remember that you don't have to win every single round to take the game, and that making mistakes is okay too. For those of us who are a little bit overexcited with taking risks, remember that patience is a key part of any skillful player, and that the game is usually designed so that certain advantages force opponents to come to you anyways. Taking a better engagement later will usually be more successful than taking a bad one now. In any case, don't overthink it and remember to have fun. I hope this video helped you. Best of luck, everyone, and have a great day.